This is the book of Ezekiel chapter 8, verse number 14, where it says, in fact, I'll start in verse 13. And he said also unto me, turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. Verse 14. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz.
They seen women weeping for Tammuz. Tammuz is the virgin child of Babylon that they're claiming was plagiarized by the Bible. When the Bible is showing that worship as an abomination. See, even you Christians, you need to be able to clear those inconsistencies up. You people that believe in Christ, who are losing all these arguments by these Kemetic people and atheists and all that. Mother and child, Christ and Mary have nothing to do with the Babylonian pagan mother and child, folks. The Bible is against that virgin child, Tammuz. Okay? That virgin child that was prophesied to come according to the Bible is different than the ancient Babylonian virgin child, because that virgin in the Old Testament means maiden. A young woman of marriageable age, whether she's married or not, is the correct definition of virgin. It's not the same virgin of ancient Babylon and Egypt, folks. So the Bible tells you the worshiping of that virgin child, Tammuz, is an abomination. And that is the virgin child that's being upheld and worshiped by the papacy, the Roman Catholic Church. That's the new Christ that was taught in the new world. Come on.
Verse 15. Then said he unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these.
Here's another abomination.
And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of the Lord.
Their backs was against the temple of the Lord. They turned their back on the temple, which is in the east. Read.
And their faces toward the east, and they worshiped the sun toward the east.
And they worshiped the sun towards the east. The priests began to worship the sun. Our priests began to set up Sunday worship, folks. Now, these are things Christians are doing in the name of Christ ignorantly. Ignorantly. You don't know. You let them just tell you anything. Well, Christ rose on the first day of the week. Let me give you a few first day of the week scriptures, because you don't know anything. You haven't researched. Right. And therefore profane the Sabbath. Use Christ to profane the Sabbath. And now we're going to set up a new day, a Babylonian day, a satanic day, first day of the week, that rivals the seventh day of the week, which was established in creation by our Creator. And here's the irony of all this. This is what perplexed me. They're breaking all of God's laws in the name of Christ. The Most High set up. No, look now. The Most High made Christ now. Let's make this clear. Christ is an entity from the Father. Okay? The Most High made him to create. So now what the Christians are saying, that Christ came to undo everything that was established by the Father. A lie, folks. We're going to clear it all up today. But let's go back to the Apocrypha here.
Yes, sir. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse number 16.
Come on.
Thus, in process of time, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law. Engraven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings.
So now the Romans, according to this prophecy, began to uphold a new commandment as a law. Now, mind you, we're looking at a new commandment outside of the commandments written in the same Bible. There was a commandment in Exodus the 20th chapter to remember the Sabbath, to keep it holy. Exodus 20:8. So now they will make a new commandment. No longer will we observe the Sabbath, which is the Israelites' holy day under their God. Now today they try to make it seem like, oh, you deal with the Sabbath. Don't the Jews do that? No, that's garbage, folks. That's garbage what they're trying to claim, that only Jews should worship the Sabbath. All 12 tribes, the whole nation, hallowed the Sabbath day. Not just Judah. Jew is short for Judah, or those of Judea. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. It wasn't just Judah, Benjamin, and Levi following the Sabbath. All of us hallowed the Sabbath from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Christ never undid that. Now, what the Christian church tried to teach is, well, that happened then, before Christ, but once Christ rose the third day, they claim it was on a Sunday, and it wasn't. They claim he rose on a Sunday. And through that, the so-called, who they claim holy fathers. Now, the holy fathers are what you would call Romans philosophy after the disciples. They claim that some guys came later and then commemorated that as a holy day outside of the Sabbath. So it's no longer Sabbath, but Sunday. Liars, deceivers, tricksters. Now, let's just say it happened like they claimed, that Christ was crucified on Good Friday and rose on Sunday. Can you get 3 days between Friday and Sunday? Let's try it. I'm in Friday. 24 hours from Friday is what? Saturday. 24 hours from Saturday is what? Sunday. 24 hours from Sunday is what? Monday. So if it was exactly what they claim it was, that means that Monday should be the first day of the week and the day of worship. Where does Sunday come from? Monday should be, it's technically the second day of the week, but based on the claim, the excuse they're using for having Sunday worship, it should be Monday. You cannot get 3 days between Friday and Sunday. Try it. So even the excuse they're making for Sunday worship doesn't work. Well, he rose on a Sunday. Impossible. You can't get 3 days between Good Friday and Sunday. But the Bible is identifying them making a new commandment. What was the new commandment? To uplift and to instill amongst the religious circles the Babylonian holy day of Sunday as a law amongst all believers. You have your so-called Seventh-day Adventists talking about Sunday law going to be instituted, which is the mark of the beast. What? What are you talking about? Sunday law been instituted. Churches everywhere make a law for Sunday as the Sabbath. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I appreciate it. There you go. Thank you. Now check that out. Right? The Catholic Church been made Sunday law. Doesn't matter what church you're in. You don't worship the Sabbath. So you're under the Sunday law that was instituted through what? The deceivers. Come on.
Verse number 17. Whom men could not honor in presence because they dwelt far off. They took the counterfeit of his visage.
They took the counterfeit of his visage. Now, do you see why they took the Apocrypha out of the Bible? On top of other reasons, here's one of the main reasons. Now, one reason is it was prophesied that the North American Indians and others would come into a new land. That the people that were conquered in the Americas, in Mexico and these other areas, weren't just some regular nomads or some regular indigenous people. These were Israelites who went into the land after serving under the Assyrian captivity of 721 BC. So they took that out of the Apocrypha so that the indigenous people of Americas would lose the knowledge of their true primal origin, which was and is Israel. These are Israelites, folks. So they took the Apocrypha away from the poor people. And by doing so, took their history from them. Now it's showing what? Read that last piece again. A counterfeit visage. Counterfeit means fake. You know what counterfeit is. You've seen people running around, well, back when I was growing up, try to pass a counterfeit 20 or a counterfeit 100. Counterfeit means fake. You mean to tell me that the Apocrypha is identifying a false image of a son promoted as God? Yes. So the Catholic Church seen that and say, you know what? We're going to make an agreement with the Protestants and others to separate the Apocrypha from those poor people. Okay. Because what we read in Wisdom of Solomon, the 14th chapter, is evidence, exhibit A against us. The false image, us putting up a son to be Christ, worship, making a new commandment for a new day to be worshiped. The Apocrypha is exhibit A against us. Let's move it out of the poor neighborhoods. Come on.
Whom men could not honor in presence because they dwelt far off, they took the counterfeit of his visage from far and made an express image of a king whom they honored.
They made an express image of a king they honored. Read.
To the end that by this their forwardness they might flatter him that was absent as if he were present.
So the conquistadors and other white conquerors did what? They began to promote a white image over conquered slaves and Indians to flatter the papacy, to flatter the throne of Rome. They was able to come back and tell the Europeans, listen, it's going to be easy peasy conquering these lands. They have already acknowledged your son as God. We have killed the wise man and have now the poor slaves learning under us. And they believe that your son, Rodrigo, is Christ. Check that out. It's in the Apocrypha.